Messi! Gonna heave one is a pick, and Pat Garrity
Hi ladies and gentlemen, I am Jacob Rudner here alongside Noah Cameras and Ariel Putterman, and welcome back to dTSPN. I know it has been a long time since we have made an episode, but we are extremely excited to be bringing you our sports opinions on a weekly basis. Sports are in full swing right now. We have the NBA playoffs, baseball is really starting to get moving, and then the NFL draft is coming up this Thursday night. So, since the draft is definitely the most pressing news this week, we are going to be dedicating this entire episode to the draft, and then next week we'll focus on the NBA playoffs and hopefully a little bit of baseball also, so tune in next week for that. But we are going to jump right into our second mock draft of the year. We're going to go picks 1 through 10, Buffalo Bills, and the Cleveland Browns, starting at the Cleveland Browns to the Buffalo Bills. And we're going to start that right now. First overall, we have Myles Garrett. No surprise there, defensive end from Texas A&M. Tell us about why that's such a strong pick for the Browns.
He's easily the best player in this draft, maybe one of the best players to come out of a draft in a while. He's got freakish talent. He can get to the quarterback. He can tackle for loss. I think that if the Browns don't take him, it's a huge mistake. He's definitely the best player. But what's interesting is that Warren Sapp, a Hall of Famer in his position, he said that Myles Garrett isn't going to be that good. He's going to make 4 big plays a game, which I personally don't agree with, but he's a Hall of Famer in this position, so he might know what he's talking about.
Second overall pick, we have your team, the San Francisco 49ers, who are coming off a terrible season, one in which they suffered a lot of defensive injuries and defensive losses. They have had a good free agency, but how are they going to continue to address this issue?
Yes, like you said, they had a good free agency. They signed a lot of players, and they did sign 2 veteran quarterbacks, Brian Hoyer and Matt Barkley. So I don't see them going. We don't see them going quarterback with this pick. Maybe they'll go later. But for now, we have Solomon Thomas, a defensive end out of Stanford. He's a great defensive end. He's not Myles Garrett, but I think he's the second best one. And since Myles Garrett's probably going to go number 1, the Niners should go Solomon Thomas, get the same position, and get what they want out of that guy.
Third overall pick, we have the Chicago Bears, and they are going to go with a cornerback out of South Carolina. Tell us a little bit about him.
So they're going to take Marshawn Lattimore. I think he's easily the best cornerback in this draft. And I think that if the Bears use him right, then he could be a star in this league.
Fourth overall pick, and this is one that you and I are going to spend a little bit of time on because it definitely is worth the conversation. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting Leonard Fournette, the running back out of LSU. Somebody who's been extremely strong in his college career. He's been that Adrian Peterson, run-up-the-middle power running back. But is it the right pick for them?
Well, the Jaguars, as we've seen in the last 2 years in free agency and the draft, they've gone defense. Last year, they drafted Jalen Ramsey and Myles Jack, and then in the free agency, they made some moves. And then this year, they signed A.J. Boye, the highly touted cornerback who's going to be a star in this league. So they went really defensive-minded, and now it's time to go offense, because their offense isn't great. They have Blake Bortles, who they might not keep. And then after that, they have Yeldon and Ivory at the running back, who aren't great players. So Leonard Fournette can really solidify their offense, and we know their defense is going to be good.
So I do have 2 questions, and my first one is going to be centered around the fact you mentioned Blake Bortles. He has not been successful in his NFL career. His record shows that he is not an NFL-ready quarterback, and still he is not proving that he can get there. He hasn't done anything yet. He's had some good games, but it's not exactly proving anything. Is this the wrong pick to take a running back as opposed to a quarterback? Nobody on our list yet has taken somebody a quarterback, so you can have the best one in the draft.
I think in this draft, at first, it was like, oh my God, there's so many good quarterbacks. Let's all take quarterbacks. But now everyone's kind of leaning back and maybe letting the quarterbacks drop. I think there are going to be some good quarterbacks available in the 2nd, 3rd, maybe even 4th round, like Deshaun Kaiser, Patrick Mahomes, Davis Webb. These are quarterbacks that are going to be available. So for now, I think the teams have stopped thinking quarterback heavy in the beginning and are now just thinking, I'm going to get the best player, and then later I can get a quarterback.
So my second question is going to be focusing on the running back position for them. We know that they need to focus offense. People seem to neglect to realize that the Jacksonville Jaguars are a top 5 defense right now, and their record doesn't exactly show it, but they have been a top 5 defense in every single category over about the past year and a half, So is running back the right position here, especially with Chris Ivory and TJ Yeldon?
Well, I think Leonard Fournette could be amazing. I think he's the best running back in this draft. It's debatable. I think he's the best one, also really consistent. And I think what they can do is like what the Falcons did with Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman. TJ Yeldon to be like their receiving back, and then Leonard Fournette could be their power back. And I think to put those 2 together, maybe get rid of Chris Ivory, put those 2 together, and you can have a really nice tandem.
Our 5th overall pick is the Tennessee Titans. They were 9-7 last season. A really good year and a huge step up for a team that was not so good the year before that. So we have them taking a wide receiver that could do some huge things. Tell us about what he's going to do and who he is.
So it's Mike Williams out of Clemson. I think that he's amazing. He has speed. He has leaping ability. He's tall, so I think that's a great combo for a great wide receiver. And the Titans, they really lacked wide receivers last year. Rashard Matthews had an okay year, but besides that, they really had no one. I think if they take Mike Williams, then they can have a playoff push, maybe win a couple more games, and that will help them a lot.
And something to keep in mind when you talk about the Tennessee Titans is that they were actually good last year. People seem to glaze over them when you look in the standings. But really, this is a pick that could put them in that potential wild card spot, potential playoff contention, because they really are just lacking that one big offensive piece.
Yeah, last year the Titans were 9-7, and so were the Texans, and the Texans, I guess, had the tiebreaker, so the Texans went to the playoffs. But if this year the Titans have the tiebreaker, now they're going in, now they win their division, and then they're going to the playoffs that way.
Moving on to a team that is doubtfully going to make a playoff run this year, we have the New York Jets at the 6th overall pick, and they're actually going to go with somebody at a position that you don't traditionally see this high up in the draft.
Yes, they're going to go Jamal Adams, a safety out of LSU. Now, this offseason, the Jets have just gotten rid of everyone. They've got rid of the veterans on the defense, the veterans on the offense. They're really starting over. And I think Jamal Adams is a good start. He's a speedy, hard-hitting safety out of LSU, where it's they breed safeties like Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, and I think that if they could really start working on the defense first and start their rebuild with defense, I think they'll be okay.
Next, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. They are also going to stay on the safety trend because this is definitely a draft that is loaded with safeties. Yeah. They're going to look to Ohio State, though, to take theirs. Who is he?
It's Malik Hooker. I think they're in the same position as the Jets. They lost a key player on defense, Eric Weddle, and they couldn't really come back from that last year. So I think that they need to take Hooker this pick, and he'll really help that defense again and make it so that they can be a top team again.
With the 8th overall pick, the Carolina Panthers, who did not have an impressive year this past year, we don't know exactly what it was. It may have been Cam Newton was definitely not his self this year. He definitely may have been dealing with some injuries that have surfaced this offseason, but they were not the Carolina Panthers that were Super Bowl contenders the year before that. They lost in the Super Bowl and then were absolutely nothing next year. So to hopefully help that process, we have them going with one of my personal favorites in the draft. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we have them going Christian McCaffrey, running back out of Stanford. Now, I love Christian McCaffrey. I do think Fournette's the better running back, but I think McCaffrey is such a good running back because he can do it all. He can run, he can receive, and he can return. And I think with Jonathan Stewart aging, Cam Newton needs another playmaker back there. Their defense is usually pretty good. Their offense last year was lacking because it was only Cam Newton. He was kind of injured. But to have another playmaker back there for Cam Newton to maybe run some read option with, maybe just get McCaffrey the ball any way you can, the Panthers' offense could be really good.
My question, though, about Christian McCaffrey, and it's a quick one, is Christian McCaffrey going to be taking first down snaps, or is that still Jonathan Stewart's job?
I think for now it's Jonathan Stewart, but I think you can see in maybe week 4 after Jonathan Stewart starts, because Jonathan Stewart's on the decline. We know that it's going to happen, and they need another running back. So McCaffrey can come, and McCaffrey could turn into an every down back, depending on how much they use him. I think he should be every down back.
Next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, at number 9. They're taking a defensive lineman. Who is he? Where's he from?
It's Jonathan Allen out of Alabama. Now, he's easily one of the top 3 defensive talents in the draft. The only reason he's slipping a little bit is because his combine was a little underwhelming. But I think that the Bengals get a steal here. I think that he's a tremendous player. And the Bengals are known for having a solid defensive line. He's only going to improve it.
And there's something that you mentioned in there that really is big for me. Why base it on the combine? I think that if you have seen somebody play in college and they didn't run a good 40, that's 40 yards and that's an entire season that you're gonna put under just because he didn't run well. So really, I honestly think Jonathan Allen has the potential to be even higher in this draft, even though other teams don't necessarily need him. There are teams in here that may need to go defense, and they definitely could look to go Jonathan Allen.
Yeah, there's a chance that the Bears could take him at 3. You could look at there's a chance he could go any higher, but I think if this all pans out like it would, Jonathan Allen's a good pick at 9. Yes, I think he's better than a 9 player, but then he can solidify the Bengals defense.
Our final pick is the Buffalo Bills at number 10. A situation that is a little bit weird. We have Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. It's not a fantastic quarterback situation no matter how you look at it. So they are going to take a quarterback, see if they can maybe mop up that situation. Who are they taking and why?
Yes, they have a lot of options. We have them going Mitch Trubisky, quarterback out of North Carolina. Now, this is an interesting pick. The Browns love him. The Browns really want him, but they're probably going to go Garrett number 1. The Browns have the 12th pick. They would love to get Trubisky, but the Bills can take him here. And he started 1 year at North Carolina. He had a really good season, and people really think he's an NFL-ready quarterback. Now, the Bills don't have to go quarterback here, but we think it's the best idea with Tyrod Taylor's situation not being great even though they re-signed him. And Mitch Trubisky could be a great NFL quarterback, and a lot of people think he's the best in the draft. So if the Bills want to get a maybe almost NFL-ready quarterback, maybe wait a little behind Tyrod Taylor and then start, Mitch Trubisky's their guy.
And the only thing I want to point out before we move on from the mock draft is the quarterback depth going into this draft. We have Mitch Trubisky included. Deshaun Watson is also a big name. You have Deshaun Kaiser, who's also a good quarterback in Notre Dame. All of these guys are big names that could be first-round picks. You have Davis Webb, and you do have Patrick Mahomes, two guys who are probably not first rounders, but are still good quarterbacks. So if you are going to hold off, they do not need to go Mitch Trubisky in this pick. We just think he's the best guy for their case.
Yeah.
Finally, we are going to talk a little bit about Jabril Peppers and Reuben Foster, two big draft prospects. Two guys who have been caught up in some drug problems. Tell us a little bit about how that's going to affect them.
So both of them failed their drug test at the combine, which raises concerns, especially for Reuben Foster because he was a top 10 pick before this, and obviously he's not a top 10 pick now. I think that a lot of teams are going to look worried about that because Laramie Tunsil, if you remember last year, he had the video of him wearing a gas mask last time, and that made him slip from the possibly top 10 pick a little bit down to the 14th pick to the Dolphins. So I'm not sure how much it's going to hurt them, but it's definitely going to be a concern for all the NFL teams.
Yeah, but I think I think a lot of teams, like maybe even late first round, early second round, could get a steal in one of these players. And now they have to work on their drug problem. These are two freakish talents. Reuben Foster's a great linebacker. Jabril Peppers is a kind of do-it-all type player on defense. And if a team wants to take a risk and maybe has a strong enough locker room to get these guys into check, I think they can get two steals of players.
And I really agree with that right there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of dTSPN. We are extremely excited to finally be back for you guys. Look forward next week for our NBA MLB preview / conversation about the playoffs. Thank you so much again. Have a good one.